Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Culture Cast. I'm Cristachio, and my lovely co-host Eric is finally back from the land of sand, Egypt.
And I feel terrible.
It's that jet lag; it'll do it to you.
Oh my god, yeah, the jet lag has been real. I keep waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning every day, and I'm just like, why am I awake? And I can't go back to sleep. And so, yeah, that's just been my life for the past, 5 days. But it's cool. I just get a lot of shit done in the morning. I drink 5 cups of coffee and play video games for 4 hours before I have to do anything.
See, so there are some perks to waking up early. Definitely not by choice.
It's the same stuff that I usually do late at night. I just do it really early in the morning now.
Right. And we are joined by everyone's favorite Canadian filmmaker, especially mine, Mr. Matt Campagna.
Oh, shucks. Thanks, man.
Gee willikers. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, man. Yeah, we missed out. There was some miscommunication on the Deadpool 2 podcast, so that didn't happen.
Oh, I'd hate to call it totally miscommunication. It was also, I drank way too much and was so exhausted from my weekend, and I was just fully sleeping.
Yeah, so I know. I messaged you and I was like, hey, are we doing this? And you didn't respond. You normally respond.
Cricket.
And I was like,
yeah.
Man, what the fuck? Oh, shit. Yeah. And then Tucker, the other guy who was going to be on the podcast, his Skype didn't work, which is par for the course. And also, if you're a Skype user and or a podcaster, Skype, you know that Skype is literally fucking ass cancer. Skype is the most garbagey piece of shit known to man. So,
dude, yeah,
Skype.
I have nothing but Skype problems. I record this podcast using Skype off of the Skype app on my phone because the Skype app for my computer just won't work ever.
Skype
at all.
is bad.
So, yeah, Skype sucks.
Speaking of things that are not good, let's talk about this year's Star Wars movie.
Not a fair
Are you
segue.
talking about The Last Jedi? Because then I think we might be in agreement.
Are you talking about Rogue One or, most of the movies George Lucas makes?
We're talking about the
then we'd be.
Guys, this is a little too much for me right now. We're gonna be talking. Let's leave the salt for Solo, a Star Wars story. It's a movie that no one wanted and or asked for, as far as I'm concerned. And whether or not you like the movie, you didn't want it and you didn't ask for it.
It's just like Rogue One, really.
Yeah. Well, this more than
I can
Rogue
agree
One.
with that.
I mean, Rogue One at least was telling a story that we'd never seen. This is okay.
No, man. Many Bothans died to get us this information. What else do you friggin' need?
Yeah, many Bothans died, except no Bothans died in the movie. So,
well, to be fair, many Bothans died to bring us the information on the second Death Star, I think.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
When George Lucas just makes the same movie over and over again, it's hard to remember.
It's called retconning, and they did it.
Yeah.
Most people, including me, don't even know what a Bothan is. So it's fine. I just assume that if people die, that means that's what they are.
No Ewok, no care, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Bothans are just weird little cat men, basically.
Oh.
They're
That's
basically
terrible.
cats.
I'm glad that they didn't have those fucking garbage creations in the movie.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Solo, a Star Wars story.
You're after something. Is it revenge? Money? Or is it something else? You look good. A little rough around the edges, but good.
Heard about a job. Big shot gangster putting together a crew.
I'm a driver, and I'm a flyer. I waited a long time for a shot like this. What do you think? Well, what do you know?
You got a line on a ship?
Yeah, I know a guy. He's the best smuggler around.
I heard a story about you. I was wondering if it's true. Everything you've heard about me is true.
L3!
Let go of the mean man's face.
Who are these guys? If you come with us, you're in this life for good.
You might want to buckle up, baby.
me give you some advice. Assume everyone will betray you, and you will never be disappointed.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Since when do you know how to fly?
190 years old? You look great. Push it!
So Lord and Miller were brought in to direct Solo, a Star Wars story. They shot what varying accounts, but the number that I'm going to use in this culture cast, 70% of the film was shot.
They only had 2 weeks of principal photography left. They were pretty much finished.
Right, so 70%.
That's a lot of movie.
Then they were fired. Yeah. They were fired by Kathleen Kennedy, and Ron Howard was brought in 24 hours later to direct the film. And when he was brought in, the entire film was reshot. Now, what I've also read is that 85% of the film is Ron Howard's.
Well, here's an important thing to realize about the Directors Guild of America. If the director finishes principal photography, the director is then entitled to notes on the script or notes on the edit and to oversee post-production. And there's a reason Kathleen Kennedy fired Lord and Miller before they had finished principal photography. And it was so that they wouldn't have anything to do with the rest of the production. And so that's why they don't have director credit on this film. They're executive producers, and Ron Howard is the only director.
Right. And so here's kind of the other kicker. So and obviously with a production mired in the muck and marred with controversy like Solo, a Star Wars source, there's going to be varying accounts coming out about the on-set tensions. Alden Ehrenreich apparently needed an acting coach at one point. One of the people that was on set said that the reason Lord and Miller were fired was because they were taking chances with the film that Kathleen Kennedy didn't like. So
that makes sense.
Right, and who knows what to believe, right? I would be inclined to believe that Lord and Miller were doing something so wildly different with Star Wars that Kathleen Kennedy was not on board. And to me, with the movie we got, and again, I kind of buried the lead a little bit. I don't hate this movie. I think this movie is perfectly mediocre. But man, I would have loved to have seen a Star Wars movie that was completely out there. Even if it was a failure, at least they take some chances. And I know people are going to say, well, The Last Jedi took chances and look how everyone felt about that. I don't think that...
They took chances and I loved it.
But I don't think that the kind of chances they were taking with this movie were that kind.
But you don't get to take chances when you are under the gun in the way that Ron Howard was. He had to deliver a movie in a clean, crisp, easy way as quickly as possible. So this wasn't going to be the movie that took the chances.
Right, no, but what I'm saying is Lord Miller got fired because they were taking chances. And for me, that's a bummer because this movie is it's okay, but it doesn't change anything we've seen. It doesn't break any molds. It doesn't revitalize any franchise tenets. Frankly, it kind of goes back to the well and stuff we've seen millions of times at this point with Star Wars. And
well, I got to disagree with you a little bit there because what it does do is give you one solid, interesting surprise that allows the extended universe to kind of be resuscitated nicely.
But one great surprise does not change the fact that this film just feels kind of like a formula. And here's the thing, saying a film is a formulaic Star Wars movie, that's a statement that I honestly never thought I would utter. Because for all intents and purposes, we were never going to get another Star Wars movie after the prequels. And then we obviously had Disney buying Lucas. They said, hey, we're not buying this to just sit on our laurels with it. We're making more movies. We're making movies every year. And so the fact that this is a film that feels like a formulaic Star Wars movie, to me, is an insane statement to be saying to begin with. But my point is, it feels just kind of like a rote Star Wars movie. And that's kind of
really safe. Yeah, it's really safe. It It doesn't give you any, earth-shattering surprises. The main character isn't all that interesting. The movie isn't a must-see. The movie isn't a must-see film, in my opinion. But it is a successful film. It manages to smoothly, cleanly tell this particular story. It's just that this particular story isn't all that fascinating.
And here's the other thing, and this, before we kind of get into the meat of the movie, Eric, are you almost done doing God knows what you're doing in the background?
Oh, I'm just sitting
sounds
here
like you're
quietly
making
listening.
Sounds like you're making a cup of tea in the back. I can hear
am making a cup of tea. Holy
you
shit.
son of a bitch!
Wow!
I hear a cup on a saucer, you son of a bitch. I can literally hear it. Oh my god!
Holy shit!
I sit for my computer and audio edit like 12 hours a week, man. Come on, I know what shit sounds like at this point.
Just like sitting here, just like making a cup of tea, because I'm so tired. But yes, I am awake and I am listening, and you guys are hitting all the points, all the things that I would say. So my input is almost unneeded at this point in time.
Here's a comparison that I think is apt for where we are right now with Star Wars. And I think you might agree with this, we'll see. So Solo feels, for the Star Wars universe, like Captain America the First Avenger did for Marvel. We are in the early stages of getting new, exciting Star Wars movies that aren't the Skywalker trilogy. And let's be honest here. The early Marvel movies are good, but the stuff that we're getting now with Marvel is exponentially more exciting because Marvel has finally let the filmmakers that they're hiring flex their muscles and their creative muscles. I mean, Ryan Coogler's Black Panther would never have been able to exist the way it did before now.
No, you're right, and I think Star Wars needs to earn that.
Right, and this movie they hired Lord Miller thinking they were going to give them that creative kind of breath.
Nah, I don't think so.
And they kind of said at the end, "Hey, we're just going to bring in Ron Howard. We know Ron Howard is good at directing, and he can deliver a solid, if not director for hire film," because it's kind of a director for hire. I think basically what's happening is Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm is getting a pitch in the room about a movie, and they like the sound of it. And then they see the rough cut of that film, and they're like, this is too far in a direction. And, I wouldn't say this is the Captain America. I'd say this is the Thor. But I mean, not Captain America, but you know what I mean. I'm talking about just like those early
The first
Marvel
Avenger,
movies.
yeah, that first, I think it's the first Thor movie.
Yeah,
where
it's
early
like Marvel
even
films.
It's even shittier. Where it's like it was pretty good at the time, but looking back on it, man, it really is kind of lackluster.
Well, and you look back.
Wait, are you saying that the first Thor movie was bad? Because I haven't seen it in a while, and I really liked it.
Well,
I was like, oh no, the first Thor movie sucks. What?
It had some parts that kind of showed where Thor's character would go later in the series. But the problem is they hired Kenneth Branagh, who is, one of the finest, like, Shakespearean actors and a damn fine director in his own right, to create a film that they were trying to make it into like a Shakespearean drama, and they never really let him do much with it. And then you had Joe Johnston with Captain America, who I'm convinced they brought him in because he directed The Rocketeer, and that was a period piece comic book film. And they were like, you were successful with that, albeit it's a cult classic, underrated comic book movie, whatever the hell you want to call it, came before its time. And they were like, hey, why don't you direct Captain America? It's a period piece comic book movie. And then they didn't let him do anything interesting with it. And that's what this reminds me of.
Yeah, I don't know if Joe Johnston has anything interesting left in him, though.
Well, that's a different story. I mean, I would be inclined to agree with you, but their heart was in the right place, if that makes sense.
Like, Joe Johnston does, like, iterative improvements on things. Like, honestly, the best Wolfman movie ever made is his Wolfman movie. But that's not because he did anything new. It's because he took everything good from all of the Wolfman movies and put them into one super Wolfman movie that is exceptional. But
wait, are you
did we need that?
You're not talking about the...
Oh, he is.
Oh, yes.
Wait.
Benicio del Toro's terribly cast in that film, but I adore the Wolfman movie. It's amazing.
I will kill all of you.
That is literally one of the only movies that I fell asleep in the theater on opening night because it was so bad and I didn't give a shit. It was like
have you seen the original Wolfman?
Yeah, it's bad.
So, have you seen the sequel to the Wolfman?
No.
Okay, so you got to check out the original, I'd say check out all three of the original Wolfman movies from the 30s and 40s, and then watch Joe Johnston's Wolfman. It's like the mega mix, remastered, perfect version of all of those movies. Because those movies, that's back when Universal didn't know how to end a movie. So it's like, action, 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 credits. What? Like, there's no denouement, there's no character wrapping up. It's just like the movie's over. But the thing about the Wolfman in its 2011 remake, I don't even remember when it happened, but
2010.
2010? Joe Johnston's remake, dude, it is strong. Benicio was terribly cast, but it is a strong film.
Yeah,
watch it again.
Maybe I should give it a chance since I only saw it one time and I napped through it.
Let's be honest, at least you're not trying to defend Jurassic Park 3, Matt, because...
Oh, that's indefensible.
Yeah, right? Let's bring back Sam Neill and not do anything interesting with him.
Yeah.
Okay. But... Back to Solo, a Star Wars story. So we're gonna talk spoilers here. Shocker. We'll talk spoilers kind of from the get go because let's assume everybody's gonna go see this movie. But if we're tracking the box office numbers from over the weekend, that is not the case.
Well, it's funny because Ron Howard said 114 mil. That's a personal best. And I think that's lovely.
Hey, ding dong.
Wow.
Hey, ding dong. That ain't a personal best for Star Wars.
No, but it's a personal best for him, and I think he's a lovely filmmaker, and I think it's wonderful that he came to the rescue of Star Wars and that he managed to make a film that is good. It's not great, and we expect great from Star Wars, even though we are routinely disappointed. And, we got good. And Ron Howard, he's very reliable at delivering good. And in this case, he did it.
Ron Howard is a okay filmmaker. He's reliable.
No, he's not okay. He's good.
A lot of his movies are just like, okay, Apollo 13 is fun, but Da Vinci Code is fucking trash. Angels and Demons is garbage.
Apollo 13 is brilliant.
Right. It's
a beautiful movie.
That's what I'm saying. Apollo 13 is a good movie. It's great.
Yeah.
But Inferno or any of the Robert Langdon fucking Dan Brown movies he's done, no.
Yeah, but that's not the filmmaker's fault. Those books suck, and so do the movies.
Okay, hold on.
It's based on a book, and it's also based on a book.
Hold on a second. It might not be the director's fault, but
you don't need to shit on the director of Twilight. You don't need to shit on the director of Twilight because the director didn't fuck that up. It would be Twilight.
If anything, he made that shit better and more palatable.
Okay,
right?
Hold on a second. No, you're right, but he he also said he wanted to direct a movie, guys. It's not like someone put a gun to his head and was like, hey, by the way, you're directing all the Robert Langdon movies from here on out. So.
Hey, it's not impossible. He might have had a contract with through his agent where he didn't have an option.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that was the case, but it is possible that he was, stuck
Defend
there.
this. He directed How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Which one?
I would direct Jim Carrey in anything.
Oh, no, I would now.
Oh my God!
You would direct Jim Carrey now?
How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, absolutely. The older Jim Carrey gets, the crazier he gets, the better.
Oh my God, he's
like Nick Cage.
My God, he's amazing.
He's Gary Busey levels of unhinged. He's approaching Gary Busey levels.
Exactly. He's a completely wild wire. You can do anything, get anything out of that.
Yeah, he's reaching critical mass.
Dark Crimes, dude, a great film. Best of 2018.
I definitely watched like 30 minutes of it and then definitely turned it off.
Yeah, because it's fucking bad.
The thing about the Grinch Stole Christmas is it's a 25-minute movie. There's no reason for that to be a feature film.
I mean, I'm more excited to see the Benedict Cumberbatch voiced How the Grinch Stole Christmas film coming out later this year.
Excuse me, that is happening?
Excuse me, it is. Yep. I'm sorry to tell you, but there is no God. And if there was a God, he would have left by now.
Yeah, he checked out.
There is no God. If there is a God, God hates us. So,
Benedict Cumberbun, why?
Hey, you know what? He probably needs a new car, or he needs to make a payment on something. But speaking of needing to make a payment on something, so Ron Howard directed this film, obviously. He came in, and what we ended up getting in Solo, a Star Wars story, is a serviceable origin story for a character that...
Didn't need one?
Didn't need one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a movie that totally works, that is not a complete waste of time, but also just didn't need to happen.
No, it's like I've read a Wikipedia page before. I didn't need to see a movie of it.
and now this is canon too. That old stuff is not canon anymore.
Yeah, and I think this did a good job of reestablishing a lot of extended universe stuff, but in a way that was more valuable than just a book.
Like because how Solo's last name is Solo. It's so great. Just
You know what?
Perfeccione.
Actually, the cool thing about that is that was Kasdan's original pitch when this was still at Lucasfilm. Before Disney bought any of this, they were considering doing this movie, and the scene that made it feel special was the idea that this man is so lonely, so from nothing, that Solo isn't even his name. And that's kind of a beautiful idea. I just don't think it was executed very well. I didn't like the performance by that Imperial officer, but I did love the diegetic music.
Oh my God!
That they acknowledge that the John Williams Imperial March is the actual jingle of the Empire.
I love
break that fourth wall. Break that fourth. That's some fourth wall nonsense right there.
It was so subtle, and it was done in such a great way. Like, I don't know, we've talked about this a bunch with me in the past few years. Music and the score in films really is make or break for me at this point. Like, if your score is bad, the rest of the movie could be amazing, and I'll fucking hate it because the music will just take me out of it.
Yeah.
And that little musical cue that happened right there during that scene made me smile so fucking big. It was amazing. I was like, oh my God. I wonder how many people in the theater
are getting this right now. Yeah.
And I was just like sitting there going like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like this sort of major, happy infomercial style version of the Imperial March. Like, this is the fucking greatest thing. I would like,
and you'd better believe that Star Wars has gotten sophisticated enough in the last 40 years to realize that this is Pavlovian now. They play this music, and we're excited. That's it. That's all we need. And so, whether or not the Millenium Falcon is soaring through some shit that makes sense, doesn't matter. We're hearing the music and seeing the Millenium Falcon. We're on some base level excited, and that's all it takes, because they're digging into the part of us that already feels that.
Yep.
So aside from that usage, the diegetic usage of the Imperial March, and the fact that Han Solo's name is Solo because he's alone, I really wish he'd been like, I'm so lonely without her. Your name is Han Solo. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's leaving that aside because, that's fine. That was a choice that they made.
He's so lonely.
So lonely, Han. So lonely.
He's so low.
Let's take a quick break and we'll get into more of the film, because I think we're about to hit our stride talking about the film. Who is Carl Kolchak?
He's a reporter.
Now that is news, Vincenzo. News! And we are a newspaper. We are supposed to print news, not suppress it.
With the INS.
What's an INS?
Independent news service, sir, founded in 1904 by Enrico Paluzzi.
Who seems to have a nose for the strange and unusual.
Well, last year in Las Vegas, I uncovered a series of murders that turned out to have been committed by a vampire.
And what is the Kolchak Tapes?
It's a podcast.
All about Carl Kolchak.
What's a Kolchak?
The Night Stalker.
And where can you get it?
On iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and at www.kolchaktapes.com.
As foolish a game as any that Gory the Ghoul could make up.
Socks don't have to come in just black and white, and at Jilly's Socks and Such, you can find not only that unique pair of sassy socks, but also gifts for any occasion. Started by former teacher Lori and former student, now namesake Jillian, their store has a pair of socks for every event, personality, and interest. Be it a snarky pair for work, a pair emblazoned with your favorite sports team, or just something silly for lounging, Jilly's Socks and Such can have you sliding into your new favorite pair of socks today. I just recently picked up a pair of Bigfoot socks that are about as badass as they are comfy, and they are a perfect addition to my growing collection of socks. They are located at 3900 Old Cheney Road, Suite 202, Lincoln, Nebraska, and online at jillysocks.com. Mention the Culture Cast and get 15% off your next purchase at Jilly's. And remember, let your socks do the talking at Jilly's Socks and Such.
Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
Week after week, I'm mesmerized by the focus given great films and questionable films alike. But every episode is a learning and entertaining experience.
This is hands down the best movie podcast. They cover so many different genres across so many years, from obscure movies to blockbusters.
If there's only one podcast about movies and cinema that you listen to, make it this one.
The Projection Booth Podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
All right, so we're back, and we're finally actually going to talk about the film. I promise we're not going to go off on a tangent, but I mean, I make that promise, but we're totally going to.
There's no way that we're keeping that promise. I'm mid-stride in a tangent already in my brain.
What did you guys think of the
Darth
cast? So Darth Maul's in the movie. There you fucking go. You know what the sad part about this movie is? That may be the only thing anyone remembers from this movie. It's like, hey,
it's the only thing that matters.
Right.
Yeah, it's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remembered the cameo that the idol from Indiana Jones made.
Yeah, apparently neither one of us caught that.
That was like, I was sitting in the theater and I was watching the movie, and all of a sudden I see the idol just like sitting on a table, and I literally audibly went, oh shit!
That's awesome. So it was in like Paul Bettany's Ball of Treasure?
Yeah, it was when they were on his ship boat or whatever during that final sequence when they were all shooting at each other, and when they were in
the only set that Paul Bettany ever had to be in.
That's my joke, Matt. How dare you? He never left that room. He never left the room. Must have been the easiest week of shooting he ever did in his entire life.
When you have to make a Star Wars movie with $125 million and 10 minutes, you don't put Paul Bettany in 2 sets. You put him in the 1 set only.
And it is such a bummer because the original actor they had cast as the villain was Michael K. Williams, who's a fantastic actor. But you wouldn't have seen him. I know, but his alien sounds awesome. It's a half mountain lion, half human. Holy shit. It sounds better than Paul Bettany, who looked like he got mauled by a mountain lion on his face.
It's true, but did you hear how Paul Bettany got that job?
No.
When he heard that Ron Howard when he heard that Ron Howard had the gig, he sent Ron Howard a text and said, "Ron, do you, as I do, sit in your long winter nights wondering, why am I not yet in the Star Wars saga?" 2 weeks later, he was on set.
What a prick.
Wow.
What a glorious prick. I mean, it also helps that I think he's worked with Ron Howard at least once before with the Da Vinci Code. So it also helps. They obviously must be friends or quote unquote.
Or that would not work so well.
Yeah. So what did outside of we'll get to Darth Maul, I promise. What did you guys think of Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo?
Meh.
Right?
Supremely meh. Yeah.
Actually,
he was it's kind of the weakest part of the movie, I thought.
Oh, no.
Really?
I disagree with that.
I
don't think he was the weakest part of the movie, but I don't know. I think he's a step above meh. I don't think he's meh. I think he's all right.
Let me put it this way. Unlike Donald Glover, he's not doing an impersonation.
Which I appreciated, which we kind of talked about last night because I called you after I watched the movie. But yeah, I really like that Alden Ehrenreich, or whatever the fuck his name is. I'm never sure. Alden Whitey McWhiterson. I'm glad that he didn't do like a caricature of Han Solo. And I think, I don't know, I think it's one of those performances that like really evokes the feeling of the character more than the actual like character itself.
I think it's akin to what we're getting out of Chris Pine as Captain Kirk in the JJ verse Star Trek movies, where it's that's not a Bill Shatner impression, but that is still the character.
Yeah, it still feels like Kirk without being a straight up like Kirk impression. Which is kind of what I feel like Alden sort of achieved in this movie. Like, yes, his character is pretty one note for the entire movie. There's room, I think, should they continue with this potential trilogy that they're working on, to like actually give him some like emotional range, because I think we haven't really hit Han's rock bottom yet, like where we see him in A New Hope when he sort of like gets to the point of, I don't care about anybody but me and everybody else can fucking kiss my ass. Like, And I think that's sort of what this trilogy is maybe going for. And so we'll see maybe going forward if they continue with these movies, if he's given a little bit more emotional range to play with and can really kind of go to other places that are not just like, I'm sort of like cocky, snarky Han Solo guy. But yeah, I don't know. Surprisingly, I liked it. And I think maybe my expectations were really low going into it, but I don't know. It worked for me.
Well, there was actually a moment in the first act when he yells to Kira, "Get in!" And it actually sounded like it might have been Harrison Ford's voice. Like, I don't know if it was a really good... I don't know if it was just a really good impression or if they laid Harrison's voice on top of Alden's voice. I don't know what it was. But there was a moment where it genuinely felt in those louder moments like it was Harrison Ford in that role. It was the quieter moments that he didn't really nail, whereas I found the opposite for Lando. Lando in the quiet moments felt like Billy D. Williams. And
because he got his swagger on, and he was like, "Hey, baby, I'm Lando."
But he was an actor, exactly, and he was an actor with the charisma and charm to pull off that character. Whereas I'm not sure Alden has the charisma and charm to pull off Han Solo. So if you can't get to where the character needs to be, that's not the right actor.
But here's the thing. I didn't think Donald Glover pulled off Lando because all he did was a Lando... Not even Lando. He did a Billy D. Williams impersonation. It was just an impression. It was he was just mimicking Lando's or Billy D.
But
Williams.
not for the whole film. Not for the whole film. Only in moments.
It was enough of it where it was distracting. And it's a disappointment because... Donald Glover being cast as Lando that's inspired casting. That's pitch perfect casting. And it was so disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was disappointed. It felt like, why have him in the movie if he's just going to be like, "Hey, baby, I fuck a robot."
Yeah, but he was so much more than that. There were moments in the movie where that was where it landed, but that's not where it sat for the whole film. And I agree. You need to have those moments to remind you of who this character is. But the fact that wasn't the whole movie is what made that work so well for me. There were moments where it felt like too much of an impression, but there were moments where Alden's character felt like too little of the same character. So it's a really tough thing to do. I mean, previously, the only thing we've ever seen recast was like Mon Mothma. Like, if we're going to recast in a prequel major characters, we got to get it right. And I think with someone like Donald Glover, that is getting it right because it does feel like Billy D. Williams. It didn't feel to me like he was doing a parody of Billy D. Williams, but it felt enough like the character that it wasn't in this universe, it's played by a different character, it's played by a different actor, and the character's slightly different. We don't have any of that JJ verse, Kelvin verse bullshit happening here. This is the same guy. So if that's going to be the case, I'd better feel a little bit like it is Billy D. Williams. That was the big problem I had with Alden. He kind of made it his own without having the right to make it his own.
But here's the thing. So the point of these movies is to show Han Solo's maturing as a character. And so the point is he's not going to feel like Harrison Ford outright. Are we essentially here to believe that Lando has always been Lando and he's never grown as a character and he's always been Lando? That's the problem.
Yeah. It's fine because this isn't Lando's. This isn't a movie called Lando.
But they're going to make a Lando movie. You watch. They're going to.
I was going to say, because this isn't Lando's movie, he's just flavor. Like Chewie is flavor around Han Solo so that the whole movie feels like the characters we want. And that was perfect with Chewie. We got to see a little bit of who Chewie was before, and then he kind of immediately becomes the Chewie we're familiar with. But with Lando, I want him to be exactly the character we're expecting, which is a guy you can trust and you shouldn't. That's Lando. We don't want to think
you feel like you can trust and you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's the whole point of that character. And I feel like that's how we're going to build around Han, what he needs to become that guy who's on the run from Jabba because he took too many lessons from Beckett. Like, that's the character we want to see. And he needs to be surrounded by the familiar elements that are going to double-cross him. That makes perfect sense. He's about to step into the double-crossing business.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like there was a lot of moments. Like, there's a lot of moments where Donald Glover feels totally like Lando, and it's awesome, and you're like, damn, like, he's just straight up lando-calrissian right now.
Yep.
And I think for me, I think maybe Chris feels the same way, is that those moments feel almost like too heavy-handed, whereas Alden's moments where he feels like Han, or like Harrison Ford's Han, are almost too subtle.
Yeah,
I feel like his sort of Han persona was really more of like a subtle characterization of Han than it was like Donald Glover's like fully like, I'm going straight up like Billy D. Williams for it, like the voice and fucking everything.
Yeah.
And so I almost wish like those two characters would have like met in the middle somewhere. So like that.
Yeah.
Like one of them tones it down just a little bit and the other one like brings it up a little bit. And then you have this sort of like perfect blend of like, fuck, yeah, that's cool. But I mean, like I said, if we get 2 more movies of this shit, they're going to have 2 more movies to fucking hone it in. And at this point, like, you have to, like we're already making the comparisons to the Marvel Universe. Let's fucking keep it going. If this movie is to the first Avenger, by the time we get to fucking the Civil War version of Han Solo, like, it's going to be awesome. And we're all going to be like, damn, dude, remember when the first Avenger wasn't that great? Like, this movie fucking kicks ass.
Well, that's my point. That's my whole point here, is that's why I'm kind of giving this film a lot of just a lot of room, because if they make a second and third movie, which I hope they do,
they probably will.
For the reason alone that we get to kind of see the progression of the character and Alden kind of get a chance to kind of become a little bit more comfortable, actually get one fucking director as opposed to the
3.
mess. Yeah, 3.
Well, yeah, and I feel like this movie got a bad rap before it even came out.
Right.
I mean, and that includes us, like, definitely me. I was shitting on this movie.
I mean, all 3
way
of us
before.
were. Yeah.
Way before, like, the first trailer came out, way before I ever saw this movie, I hated on this movie. And then I saw it and I was like, all the hate that I gave this movie was pretty, like, unwarranted. And I don't feel bad about it, but like...
And let's remember that trailer came out like 2 minutes ago.
Right, that trailer came out at the end of the Super Bowl in February.
Yeah.
That's the thing about this movie, is while some of that hatred may have been unwarranted, it's also kind of deserved, because Disney aired their dirty laundry, in a way that they didn't do with Rogue One. They didn't really air their dirty laundry with Rogue One with Gareth Edwards, but with Lord and Miller, they kind of like made a very public statement about it. So
they didn't have much choice.
Right. Obviously, they didn't have much choice, but
they quietly pushed the release of Rogue One back 6 months, which I thought for sure they would do with this movie.
Me
but
too.
When they kept the May release, I was like, all right, you guys got fucking big brass balls. Let's see what the fuck you're going to do with it.
And then they didn't release a trailer until February, which, again, that to me that smacks of the studio kind of being like, all right, well, like we should release a trailer, guys. We should do something. We can't just leave it to die on the table like this, because that's kind of what that was. It was growing close to being like, we're just abandoning this film outright. But I mean, it's kind of deserved in a little way with that. But, I mean, it also doesn't help. And, this is me back to why I didn't think... I'm not as high on this movie as you guys are. The other players in this movie are complete and utter afterthoughts. Emilia Clarke, not given much to do. Woody Harrelson, kind of just doing the Woody Harrelson thing, which is perfectly fine. Woody Harrelson is a fantastic actor. But you kind of want more from him if you're going to have Woody Harrelson in the Star Wars universe. And Thandie Newton, right... given nothing to do. And apparently Jon Favreau was in the movie as an important alien.
Jon Favreau was awesome in this.
But he's given nothing to do. He's in three scenes. That's the problem.
I gotta disagree, man. He was wonderful.
He was a little like multi-armed alien.
Yeah, Jon Favreau was the guy who was like dressed like a human and then reveals that he wasn't a human after he had to pull up his pants.
Well, they totally changed his voice.
No. If you listen to it and know that it's Jon Favreau, you'll be like, oh shit, that's just Jon Favreau. It's pretty hilarious.
But the problem is I wanted more of that. I wanted more of like those characters.
Yeah, it was great. Phoebe Waller-Bridge was amazing as L3. I gotta say, she is now my favorite droid, bar none, and it's wonderful to know that she is the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Again, I wanted
very
more.
Cool.
I wanted more.
I thought that was
that's great.
I thought that was a great
but is that great considering how it's just like I wanted more of that? You could have given us more of that and less of Paul Bettany as a complete and utter afterthought of a villain. He is an afterthought.
Well, he's a stepping stone villain. Because now Emilia Clarke has become the real villain.
No one's going to be like, man, remember Dryden Voss, guys? What a cool villain he was.
He's a King Laffy.
I didn't even remember his name.
Well, you're not going to remember. Like, that's the thing. It's kind of like, what was Ben Mendelsohn's villain's name in Rogue One? I don't remember. Jesus Christ. General.
And yet we all remember Grand Moff Tarkin.
But
like, when they're done well, they're done really well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but, I mean, to be fair, Paul Bettany is a frigging incredible, beautiful, spectacular performer.
Oh, it's not his fault. I'm not putting any of the blame on Paul Bettany. I love Paul Bettany as an actor. What I'm saying is if you're going to have Paul Bettany in your movie as the villain, do something with him for fuck's sake. Don't just give him some scars on his face and like and this is shit posting of fucking proto lightsaber nonsense. Like, okay, don't just don't. We know that lightsabers are going to show up in the movie somehow because it's a Star Wars movie, and we can't go a Star Wars movie without reinforcing that this is a Star Wars movie. Darth Maul turned his lightsaber on.
For no reason.
Because it's a Star Wars movie. Like, oh my God, what? I was like, we're almost about to get a Star Wars movie without lightsabers, guys. We're about to get it, and then nope, just kidding.
Yeah,
it's kind of horse shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty lame turning on the lightsaber for no reason. I don't disagree. It was nice to see that he had another double-bladed lightsaber, but I didn't necessarily need to see it in this movie. But I mean, seeing that he had legs was enough.
Well, that's the thing, that's the thing with Darth Maul. And before we get to Darth Maul, there's one thing I wanted to mention. I noticed no one took any umbrage with the fact that I said Emilia Clarke was given nothing to do in the movie.
I don't know. She was okay.
She's not giving nothing to do, but
Emilia Clarke doesn't do much ever. Like,
well, that's the thing. I think Emilia Clarke. If I'm going to make a comparison here, and again, you can tell me I'm wrong, and that's fine. Emilia Clarke is to female TV actresses as Bryan Cranston is. They're great on TV, but man, their movie credits, okay. Emilia Clarke was in Terminator Genisys. Wow.
It's a fantastic film. Don't ever say a negative word about it.
That's a lie.
Terminator Genisys had a great first act, and then it all went to shit.
I mean, it was an interesting idea, right? But, I mean, like you said, it's...
Any franchise based around time travel is destined to fail eventually.
It's true.
Doctor Who.
Well, Doctor Who is its own thing.
It'll fail eventually, or it'll last for 50 years and just get better. One or the other. Hard to say.
And it's Terminator. Terminator has James Cameron involved, so
Doctor Who is
not going to be successful.
Exception that proves the rule.
Fair enough.
But Emilia Clarke, I mean, she's great on Game of Thrones. I think, maybe, sure. But in this, she's again, okay.
Well, here's the thing: like white, brunette, British female actors in new Star Wars movies are just so common that it's getting a little like monotonous. Yeah. We really need something else.
I mean, they had in the comic books, didn't they have Han Solo have a black wife at one point? That's a thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Why didn't they just have her in the movie? I mean,
yeah, that would have been good.
They added Tag and Bink, which is amazing. If you're a fan of the old Dark Horse Star Wars comics, they added Tag and Bink into the movie, which is
and they mentioned Aura Singh as well. Like, they mentioned pretty good.
They mentioned Terras Kasai, the worst fucking Star Wars video game ever made. They mentioned it.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. They went deep. They went deep into the lore to make this movie have texture around it. It's just a shame that we didn't wind up with more than texture.
Yeah. So let's finally talk about it. So Darth Maul is in this movie. No one saw that coming, I guess. I mean, I don't watch the...
I didn't.
I don't watch the prequel cartoons, but I guess if you're like a fan of the cartoons, you could have been like making those connections from everything that I've read. Like it wasn't like you knew it was coming, but kind of like you had like an idea in your mind that's who that was.
Well, I mean,
be.
I didn't even guess that it would be him, but the fact that it was Sam Witwer's voice, who is the guy who voices Vader's apprentice, which is really cool as well.
But he also does Darth Maul in the cartoons.
Yeah, which is great. So I love that they managed to cast from like deep within Star Wars lore to make that happen. But it's also physically played by Ray Park still, which is amazing. Like, everything about that is done exactly right.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, and again, it may come back to bite them in the ass if they don't make a second Han Solo movie, because the reveal that Darth Maul is the villain, the overarching kind of villain, and I would assume that if they make 2 and 3 of Han Solo, he is going to be the villain of this.
I expect him to also be a villain in the ObiWan Kenobi movie.
Right. Well, and again, he's, spoilers, he's already died in Rebels. So he dies. I mean, that's the thing with this Han Solo movie, similarly to Rogue One, is there's no stakes because the end goal and these characters' endings have already been written and we've already seen them.
We know Han Solo dies, so...
Right. And that whole thing where it's like Chewbacca is hanging off the side of the train, I was like, fuck off, movie. He doesn't die. Don't even try to make me think he's gonna die. Because I know that he's in every other Star Wars movie. Forever.
You can't put the stakes in the wrong place. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with Darth Maul, it's kind of the same thing. If you don't know anything about the extended universe or the new canon, Darth Maul does die. Again, Obi-Wan kills him for good. But that doesn't mean they can't do something interesting with him as a character, more so than the Phantom Menace did, because he is the best part of the Phantom Menace. Without
Guys, I just want to say something before we get too far ahead, is I can't wait for Ewan McGregor to kill fucking Darth Maul again in a fucking live action like Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Like, when that happens,
it's going to be a good rematch.
I don't know if they would do that, though, because that would mean that
they're going to do it.
Well, but hold on a second. They already showed him kill him in the cartoon. So,
fuck the cartoon.
So they'll just do it in the...
Ewan McGregor
right, I mean, I guess they could just be like, all right, fuck it, we're just going to do it again. But I don't know. I think I would hope that they would have a more interesting story to tell in the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie than going back to the Darth Maul is still alive well.
Well, what happens if they do a fucking connected universe thing like fucking Marvel does or whatever, and
they already are.
No, well, duh.
Darth Maul literally makes this movie into a connected universe because now you have like deep cut stuff from the prequels.
Right. And so, well, I mean, it's not that deep. He's the fucking main villain in the first movie. So,
but he was, but most people would think, hey, motherfucker got cut in half. He's dead.
Yeah. The idea that he's alive is a pretty deep cut because you got to go into Rebels, you got to go into extended universe stuff, like Legends.
Clone Wars, one of the only things that
you got to go on a
canon.
Juice cleanse. Like, if they don't continue to make Solo movies, it's the most wasted cameo on the face of the earth. So I have a feeling that we're going to get more Solo movies. And I also have a feeling that as much as maybe like the opening weekend of this movie was not what Lucasfilm and Disney like wanted it to be, I think that as time goes on, people are going to look at this movie more favorably than like potentially most of the other Star Wars movies that have come out in the last like few years.
I like this more than Rogue One.
Yeah. Oh, this is a much better movie than Rogue One.
This movie makes Rogue One look like a DC movie.
We finally got the war sequence that we should have gotten in Rogue One in a fucking Han Solo movie instead. I was like, where was this in Rogue One? This was way the entire movie.
And it was like, what, 10 minutes of the movie, too?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Like, they were only on the battlefield for maybe 3 or 4 of those 10 minutes. But still.
Even though, Matt, you weren't the hugest fan of Alden Ehrenreich, he was a better lead than Felicity Jones was in Rogue One. With like, at least he has some personality. And I know that you probably don't want to say that because that's the first time a female has gotten to lead a Star Wars movie, but they didn't do much with her.
No, I mean, honestly, the problems with Rogue One aren't really in the actors. It's just in the tonal flux that movie's in because it had to be written twice and once was after it had been shot. Like the problem, I wouldn't even blame Felicity for it. Like, I don't think any of that's her fault. but it's not an interesting character, no.
Is if we look at this Solo, and then we look at the other Star Wars canon films, not cartoons, not anything else.
Just the feature films.
Just the feature films, because I think this is a valid question every time we talk about Star Wars movies. And I don't think we talked about this we did Last Jedi, because that podcast was essentially 4 people verbal fistfighting in a ring, and 2 people were just kind of sitting eating popcorn in the corners. Where does Solo rank in Star Wars canon?
Oh, I think it's like right in the middle. It's better than any of the prequels. But I'd say it's better than Rogue One, but it's not, and it's better than Return of the Jedi, because most things are. But, everything.
Come on. Ewoks, man, Yub Nub.
I will fuck you in the face with Yub Nub.
Fuck you, man. Ewoks are cool. I don't care what you say. They took down those goddamn AT-STs.
Trolliest motherfucker on the face of the earth.
They took down the AT-STs with rocks and logs, man.
Oh, I hate you so much. Your favorite Star Wars movie is fucking
Ewoks, a Caravan
of Courage.
I love that shit. So good. You think I'm kidding, dude? I'm gonna get a tattoo on my arm, and it's gonna say "Ain't no rest for the wicked," and it's gonna be gonna be fucking Wicket the Ewok on the.
You should get that across your back, shoulder to shoulder.
If you get that as a tattoo, I will pay for it.
I'll fucking do it. It's got to be in like the Sailor Jerry style, but it's got to be like Wicket the Ewok with like the scroll that says "Ain't no rest for the wicked." I'll do it. I don't care.
Oh my Ewoks, God, dude.
I want that to happen.
If you get that tattoo, I will pay for it.
I'll come to LA and get it at the place you get your fucking badass tattoos done, because I want someone who knows what they're doing to make Wicket
we'll
the Ewok tattoo.
We'll go get tattoos together, and if you get that tattoo, but
you have to get the Trust the Fungus tattoo.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. The Trust the Fungus tattoo will happen.
So, Eric, our musings on our tattoos side. Eric, where does this rank for you in Star Wars canon?
It's hard to say, because I only have my initial impressions. Like, I'm only 24 hours removed from when I saw the movie yesterday. So far, I'm gonna say that it's definitely above the prequels. It's above Rogue One. I'm not going to go so far as to say that it's above Return of the Jedi, just because Return of the Jedi has a nostalgia factor for me, just because, when you're a fucking kid and you watch it, it's everything.
Yeah. He loves the Ewoks. He's not going to admit it, but he loves the Ewoks.
Dude, fuck the Ewoks, but watching the Death Star blow up is infinitely entertaining.
Watching it blow up again.
Again, yes.
What do you love Nien Nub? That's the question.
If you name another Ewok, I swear to God, I will...
Okay, hold on. Matt, you know who Nien Nub is, right?
Oh, yeah, his vagina face.
Well, he's the space Vietnamese.
Yeah, he's
space Vietnamese.
I don't know what else you would call him. That's like...
Space Vietnamese? Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ, I don't know what...
Awful.
That's what my buddy in college always called him. I was like, that's really bad, but...
It's super racist to like...
That's the worst.
What is Watto? What is Watto? Come on, don't tell me you don't know what Watto is.
He's also racist. He's a super racist caricature.
I always just saw him as a pissed off old Italian man.
Oh, I thought he was a space Jew. Like, it's so bad. Like, there is
thing.
Yeah, there is no subtlety in any of these films.
He's like
no.
Yeah.
Oh well, like the Trade Federation with their frigging Godzilla accents. Come on.
Oh,
and their eyes that are made to look Asian.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there's not a whole lot of
Star Wars is racist, guys. We just have to accept it.
Yeah, Star Wars is pretty damn racist.
Nien Nub his eyes are similar to the, what the hell are those, the Nemoidians? Is that what those guys are called?
Namibians? Yeah.
Those guys. And then, I mean, okay, you want to go one step even further. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise as to what the Gungans are.
Oh my God, yep. True.
It's really bad, because this is not a conclusion that we're drawing. This is just...
It's just very clearly there. Yeah.
All right,
who are the Ewoks, though? Who are the Ewoks? That's the question.
I don't know.
Are they like Native Americans?
They're like Native Americans, but like, I don't know. But they're Native Americans in like a non-racist way.
They're just like little furry bear people?
Yeah, there's like some indigenous vibe for sure.
Yeah.
Indigenous, whatever. All right. Racist question of the day. What are calamarians?
What are they? What would they be?
What would a calamarian be? What would you call
Sardinian. Maltese?
so sort of like Southern Europeans.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, what Southern European are you?
Well, it's interesting. I actually read that the purple Mon Calamari and the red Mon Calamari are two different races that have a lot of racial tension between the two of them. And the fact that Admiral Akbar named a ship after the one that died in Rogue One was like a big racial deal. It was a big deal for the Mon Calamari, which is, pretty nice.
Are the Mon Calamari? It's the Mon Calamari and the Quarren, right? Because the Quarrens are the ones that have like the triangle heads that look like the squid, and then the Mon Calamari look like the octopus, right?
You guys are really deep.
Akbar's the Mon Calamari. Yeah.
Eric's like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. This shit's too nerdy for me. That's the thing. That's the thing about Star Wars, though. If you think about it, like, there's some stuff that's not racist, but then there's stuff that's just, you look at it and you're like, what were you guys thinking?
Just so racist.
So racist.
Yep.
So racist. And
some of it is so racist, and then some of it is not racist at all, so it's just, like, very confusing.
Yep.
An ultimate bummer is that Admiral Akbar, guys, died in Last Jedi.
That's the ultimate bummer, really.
That, for me...
Yeah, that's the one ultimate bummer about that garbage fire of a movie.
Yeah, that's the worst part of it.
That's the one part of that movie that was terrible, yes. Not the extra added 30 minutes that didn't need to be there, or the extra love triangle that nobody gave a shit about, or Puppet Yoda looking like a fucking 7-year-old made a puppet of Yoda.
Shut up. Shut your animal mouth.
That was a terrible puppet. It was a terrible puppet.
The Last Jedi revisited.
I am all for Puppet Yoda, but that puppet looks like fucking shit. They should have just used the original puppet. It's still around. Puppet. It's just at fucking George Lucas's house, and he was like, no, you can't use my puppet.
But the foam is like 30 years old. It probably can't move without cracking.
I don't care. Use it. It's fine. He's already dead. Whatever. He can crack a little bit.
I guess he could be cracked. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, though? As we close this podcast out, there is one thing I would like to say. The guy who took the mantle of Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca is great.
Solid work.
He fully speaks Wookiee too.
Yeah, the Wookiee conversation was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
there should have been more of that.
I really enjoyed the way they played off the Rancor vibe to introduce Chewie. That was
a great introduction.
Yeah.
Because I thought for sure there was going to be like a Rancor, and I was going to be like, shit, dude.
The Beast. Yeah, it was really good.
So are we then supposed to believe that Chewbacca's eating humans?
Potentially. He's potentially eating people. And I like how he ripped off the dude's arms. That was awesome. Man. He's like, pull your arms out of your sockets.
He's happy to eat a pork. The guy eats meat.
It's true. He did eat a pork, and those things are
really
cute. as cute as Ewoks. Not as endearing, but as cute.
I'll tell you one thing. I would eat a porg. I would not eat an Ewok.
Well, an Ewok would fight you. A porg wouldn't.
Good, because I don't want my food to fight back.
Well, on that fucking note, Matt, what would you give Solo, a Star Wars story, out of 5?
I'd give it 3. Better than half.
What about you, Eric?
Guys, I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna give it a 4. And that's because this movie gives me the one word that I never want to hear out of a Star Wars movie ever again, and that is hope.
Nice.
Fuck yourself.
I swear to God, if they say hope one more time in a Star Wars movie, I'm going to fucking stop watching Star Wars movies.
But did they give you a new hope or a different hope?
God damn it, I hate you so much.
I'm going to give it a 2. It was better than I expected. It didn't, like we said, it deserves some of the shit that it got, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, by any stretch of the imagination. And it's definitely better than Rogue One. And you know what? It's probably going to be better than that fucking Boba Fett movie that's coming out.
If that Boba Fett movie isn't rated R, I'm not even going to go see it.
Why does anybody need a Boba Fett movie, for Christ's sake?
But they got James Mangold, dude, and he made Logan, and that movie was so good. Best comic book movie we've ever seen.
That's not true. The Dark Knight is the best comic book movie you've ever seen.
Oh my God, The Dark Knight is the most overrated comic book movie ever.
You know what? The best comic book movie I've ever seen recently is fucking Infinity War.
Infinity War. That's the best comic book movie ever made. Anyone that
the best comic book movie ever made is Spawn, and you guys are both wrong.
You're an asshole.
I'm a big John Leguizamo fan.
If you could pick one character from the Star Wars universe that we've seen already to have their own movie, who would it be?
I would do a buddy cop movie with Darth Maul and ObiWan Kenobi, having both been mind-wiped by the Emperor to serve as Imperial guards. So it's like a Lethal Weapon type movie until they begin to slowly get their minds back and remember that they're mortal enemies, and then they kill each other at the end, leaving Obi-Wan Kenobi to go do A New Hope.
You know, I was asking about a movie that could happen, right?
Wow. Yeah, I would. That's the movie I want to make.
Holy shit, man. I mean, I would watch that movie.
I would watch the shit out of that.
I would watch the shit out of that movie.
They're like,
oh, yeah.
They're like buddy space cops until eventually they get these memories back. So it's like Universal Soldier and Lethal Weapon at the same time. I want to make that movie.
Oh, yeah. I'd watch the shit out of that.
Right?
What about you, Eric?
God. Okay, out of any character, but it's a character we have to have already seen. Okay.
In some form or fashion.
Yeah, I think the movie that I would most want to see personally is like I want to see a full-on like Star Wars horror movie, like on the fucking Outer Rim.
But they already made it though. They made that book, the Stormtrooper zombie book.
Yeah, make a movie.
I don't read books.
That's a lie. You're a liar. I know that to be false.
Yeah, well, you know what? Prove it. You can't prove it.
You read that book last year. How dare you? Don't lie to me, boy.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never read a book in my life. Yeah, I want to see like a full-on Outer Rim, like Star Wars horror movie, potentially starring Boba Fett. I think that just like the seedy underbelly of the galaxy that like he probably deals with on a regular basis would be a perfect setting for that type of thing. It would just like, you could easily put him in a situation where he would be somewhere terrifying. And then it makes you root for this bad guy to survive some like terrible situation, seemingly miraculously. And then, you know, I mean, he is the guy who has survived the Sarlacc pit twice.
Well, yeah, you could just do like that Ryan Reynolds movie, Buried. You could just
but it's just him in the Sarlacc pit?
In a Sarlacc pit for 90 minutes.
I would watch it. I would watch that movie.
Right?
Is that established canon now that he survived?
Twice.
It's Legends. It's Legends. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's extended universe yet, but I read that book back in the day. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let me put it this way: I'm assuming that I don't know. Like the Boba Fett movie, first off, doesn't need to exist. I don't give a monkey's asshole if James Mangold is directing it. I don't care. Like I don't care.
I'd rather see a Quentin Tarantino directed Boba Fett movie because then you know it would just be bloody as shit and awesome.
Then somehow Boba Fett would be dropping the N-word in the Star Wars universe because that's something any of us need.
Yeah, I'd just be calling people nerf herders left and right.
Wow. That's their equivalent?
Yeah, man.
Boy, this shit
like, man, check out this nerf herder right here. Shit.
Oh, my God.
I feel like I care maybe 5% more for Boba Fett than I do for IG-88. Like, why?
Or Bosk. Did you guys notice that they mentioned Bosk in this movie?
The Bosk shout-out was wicked. Yeah.
That was a fucking tight shout-out. I was so stoked on that. Oh, and then the other thing that they shouted out in this movie that we didn't even mention somehow is that Han shot first.
Yes! Han shot first all over the place. It's great.
Was fully stoked on that. I was like, yes! Woo! Fuck you,
so
Woody!
Good. Yep. That was brilliant.
If I were to have a Star Wars trilogy movie about a character, it would be about Anakin Skywalker. And
that's all the time we have today, folks. We'll see you next time for the Culturecast. Signing off.
Oh man. Honestly, like here's the thing. I don't want any character to get their own movie. I want to find new characters to care about.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like and you know, as much as I didn't like Last Jedi, Rian Johnson is going and doing his own Star Wars trilogy, hopefully with new characters, and minimal ties back to what we've seen, the two chuckling schmucks who made Game of Thrones are getting their own thing as well. And hopefully they do them. I mean, come on. Game of Thrones Season 7 is not good, folks. If you think that it is...
Oh, Game of Thrones Season 7 is just fan service for people who put up with the brutal storytelling for the previous 6 years.
Yeah, it's like poorly written fan fiction. And then Jon Snow meets this person, and it's really cool, guys. They're sharing screen for the first time. Okay. But they're going to go do their own thing, hopefully. So that's my thing, is I don't really need a character. I mean, I'd love to see more Ewoks, to be perfectly honest. I think you could do like an Ewok comedy film.
And that's all the time we have for today, folks.
I'm legitimate being serious here. You could do something like that where it's like, because that's the thing.
They did in the 80s, and they did two of them, and they were bad.
Lord and Miller were trying to make a Han Solo film that was more comedy than action.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to end up doing that. I think we could potentially see like a Star Wars comedy, like a full-on comedy in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're just like 7 movies away from being able to do it.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, if we can do a full-on, like, Star Wars buddy cop comedy, I think that would be great. They have those comics with the 2 stormtroopers, right?
Yeah, they're the ones that were in Solo.
Yeah.
They were in Solo, by the way. Tag and Bink were in Solo.
They were those guys who were fucking talking shit on the top of the fucking cage or whatever?
I assumed that that's who they were.
Well, then how do you know that they were in the movie then?
They said it on Wikipedia. They said that they were going to be in the movie.
Fuck Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, if we can get a fucking buddy, stormtrooper comedy like that, like featuring those 2 guys for the whole fucking movie, I think that would be great. Or if we could do like a full-on Star Wars horror movie that's like that fucking crazy space monster creature, like that fucking just like eats gas and for no reason at all, like tries to kill ships that are flying, where they shouldn't be out there. Like that was a huge, terrifying, like Lovecraftian monster. And if you do a whole movie about some shit like that, that's just like utterly terrifying and you do it right, that would be fucking awesome. That would be so cool. But, like, it was a cool scene in this movie to have that, like, as, like, oh, damn, like, this is a fucking insane, like, weird shit. Give me a whole movie that's, like, totally scary, but is, like, in the Star Wars universe.
No, I'm with you.
Or give me a revenge movie that's like, I'm maybe not Quentin Tarantino level of like revenge movie, but like, I don't know. I would say
Darth Maul trying to take out ObiWan Kenobi.
I was going to say Taken, but Qui-Gon Jinn was already in the Star Wars universe, so you can't have Liam Neeson. But yeah. Some shit like that. Like, give me a fucking, I don't know. Give me some, like, crazy, like, mercenary shit, like, where, like, give me the fucking A-team of the Star Wars universe. Like, you could do so much crazy, like, cool shit. I guess that
Star Wars is a playground.
And it should be treated as such.
Universe. Yeah, it's like the Marvel universe, but with more to it.
Because it's just an infinite universe. Like,
And it's not bound by anything Earth-like. The thing about the Marvel Universe is it's a huge, crazy space opera on one side, but then there's Earth that sort of is the most important place in all of the Marvel Universe. But Star Wars doesn't have that limitation. There's never a New York City to worry about.
Yeah, Earth doesn't exist. I think, and that's the most exciting thing for me about what happens after Episode 9, is once we can get past the Skywalkers and we can get past, this sort of like seemingly endless saga of like connections and extended universe for characters that we already know, and we can get into stuff that's completely new and completely different and just lives and breathes in the same general universe. Like, give me a movie that takes place like 300 years in the future, like past all of the old shit Republic. That we know.
Give me 2,000 years in the past.
And that's the thing, right? Is that's what I think that's what everybody wants, but there are a subsection of fans that like the Skywalker stuff, and that's all they want. And I think it's a little naive to believe that they're not going to do Skywalker stuff after 9. 10, 11, and 12 are going to be Rey and the characters that survive Episode 9. Whoever those characters may be, they're going to be the characters in 10, 11, and 12. There's always going to be, that's the thing, there's always going to be a Skywalker through line, even if it's not the Skywalker characters proper. It's going to be characters that interacted with them or had dealings with them or were trained by them. Yeah. And there's always going to be that trilogy because there has to be. Because that is the crown jewel of the Star Wars franchise, is the Skywalker story.
Well, and that's kind of why I wanted it to be finished, because I think the longer that jewel is out in the open, the more tarnished it gets. And so if we just allow all these other people to handle it and play with it and fuck with it and try and change it and try and tweak it and bend it to their will, this story that so many of us like grew up with, that was only 3 fucking movies that were not perfect, but had this special place in all of our hearts that really made it so that this entire insane universe could exist for the rest of our lives. And it's now just like become essentially just like a big heavy sigh for all of us. Just like, oh, great. Now we're getting a fucking Boba Fett movie. We're like, ugh. Which, like, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, if you would have asked me 20 years ago and be like, would you want to see a Boba Fett movie? I'd be like, fucking yes, I want to see a Boba Fett movie. Are you kidding me? Boba Fett's the fucking coolest dude on the face of the earth. Like, I want Boba Fett to be in every movie. But, like, now I'm like, oh, cool, they're going to do a Boba Fett movie, and it's going to be mediocre and also not rated R, and that's going to suck.
No, I'm with you. Again, the whole Star Wars debate about the franchise is how much value at this point do a lot of fans put in the original Skywalker trilogy's overarching storyline. And I think for me, after Last Jedi and kind of being so mediocre and my mediocre feelings on that film, when I look back on it, all I think is, I'd really like to see something else. Something wholly original.
I think that's why Rogue One and Solo, Star Wars stories, are both designed to get us out of that Skywalker through line, but still remind us of like lightsabers and Wookiees and the stuff we love about Star Wars. And hopefully we can distance ourselves from this 40-year window that all of these movies happen in a very expansive universe.
Right. I mean, I want something to take place as far away from the other side of everything as possible.
Yeah.
Don't even, you can mention Wookiees. I mean, Wookiees and species they exist in the universe.
Sure.
So of course you're going to mention them, but I don't need to hear about Han Solo. I don't need to hear about Chewbacca or Luke or Bossk or anybody. I don't care. I've seen them. They're cool characters. They're the cult of cool. Boba Fett is a cult of cool character. He is a cool to look at character, but he does nothing. It's like Captain Phasma. Oh, she's cool to look at, but ultimately her character is expendable.
Also, guys, if Captain Phasma comes back in the next movie, I'm going to walk out of the theater in the middle of that fucking movie.
Well, you better prepare yourself to walk out.
If she comes back with one eye, scorched, it would work for me.
She comes back with, no armor on, but she's, fully RoboCopped out, and, half of her body is just straight-up metal.
That'd be cool.
No, the suit is fused to her. The suit fused to her.
But then, half of the suit just, isn't on her because she's oh, fuck, for mobility's sake, I can't wear a full suit anymore, because part of the suit is already fused onto my body or whatever. That would be dope. If anybody from Lucasfilm listens to this fucking stupid shit that we say, let this be the one thing that you do that is cool with Captain Phasma. I won't walk out of the theater if she's badass, but I swear to God, if she shows up again with the fucking stupid suit, I'm going to be pissed.
Well,
and then also do a Universal Soldier Lethal Weapon movie with ObiWan Kenobi and Darth Maul.
Yeah,
let
do
Matt
that.
Campagna direct it. Because
even better.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think Solo has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'd say it's probably got 75.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I don't know. I am gonna be the eternal optimist and say it's got an 80.
70% on the dot. 211 fresh reviews, 89 rotten. A flawed yet fun and fast-paced space adventure, Solo, a Star Wars story, should satisfy newcomers to the saga, as well as longtime fans who check their expectations at the theater door. 61% audience score with 26,000 ratings. Now, something I've started doing is reading 2 review snippets from 2 specific reviewers. And those specific reviewers, the guy who writes for RogerEbert.com, who is Matt Zoller Seitz, who gave it a positive review, 2.5 out of 4, saying it's checklist mythology, but thankfully served up with enough panache to make the trip interesting. And the Rolling Stones critic, Mr. Peter Travers, Howard and the Kasdans play the series game without ever raising the stakes, defaulting to dull and dutiful when they might have blasted off into creative anarchy. That is a rotten review. Original score, 2.5 out of 4. How a 2.5 out of 4 on one is positive and a 2.5 out of 4 on the other is negative is beyond me. But hey, I don't run Rotten Tomatoes, and if I did, I'd figure out a way to make that make sense. So, just saying. If you want to give Rotten Tomatoes shit, it's not perfect, folks. But let's take another break, and we'll play a preview for the next Culture Cast.
Oh, this fucking wall like it out! You think it's any cooler on mine? I'm looking for a way out of
There are none more dangerous than those who have nothing left to lose.
That's cool.
Women in chains.
You have to wait on me.
A thousand nights without a man. 1,000 reasons to kill. Women in chains. From a hellhole of twisted passions to an inferno of flaming death. Chains of hate kept them bound together. Hounded by every love-hungry brute on the island.
See, I don't like cops, and cops don't like me, so why should I help you?
10,000 reward. Women in chains.
We're going the wrong way. We gotta get off.
It's the right way for me, baby.
If you screw up this deal for me, I'll kill you.
Desperate and dangerous. Women in chains.
That's right, on the next Culture Cast, we are talking about Black Mama, White Mama, the first film in our Blaxploitation month, a genre I have zero exposure to, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Until then, however, Matt, what have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
Oh man, just I'm working on season 2 of Tactical Girls, and I'm working on a movie I'm producing that is like a female-led kind of Sopranos-style mobster movie. Whoa. So, yeah, those two projects are coming along nicely.
The Mafia one the script is your wife's, correct?
It sure is. Yeah, it'll be her. It was shortlisted at the Sundance Script Lab, and yeah, we're excited about making that one. It's a really solid movie.
You've already worked with your wife before, so is it different? Is it different working with your wife versus other people? Do you notice a difference?
Well, I mean, I've directed movies myself, and then I've been, like, directing a unit of the movie while someone else directs another unit of the movie. And then I also used to direct movies with my brother. We would co-direct at the same time. So, I mean, the thing about making a movie is it's a collaborative enterprise. It's a whole whack of teamwork. So as long as you like your team, you're in good company, and my wife's my favorite person, so that makes it a pretty good team.
There's some points right there, brother.
Scoring wife points.
Scoring wife points from downtown. What about you, Eric? What have you been up to? Well, you know what you've been up to. So,
yeah,
been in Egypt.
I was in Egypt for a few weeks, and that was amazing. I didn't get to really get up to any pop culturizing during that time because I was doing actual culturizing. God, what to say? That's it. Yeah, I was there. It was amazing. I would recommend it to anybody who is thinking about doing that. Just do it because, I don't know. When are you ever going to fucking see shit that's 5,000 years old that's still standing? Go for it. It's amazing. It was awe-inspiring. Cool. Really interesting how sometimes you can get the creative juices flowing, like by seeing and experiencing like weird things that have absolutely nothing to do with, wherever your creative outlet lies. And so, it's been interesting coming home and like having like a whole new, I don't know, like a whole new view on my creative process for writing music and things like that. So it's, I don't know. We'll see where it takes me. But now I just got to catch up on, I don't know. What do I got to catch up on?
Not Westworld, because you and I are both caught up.
I did. I caught up on Westworld yesterday. So,
I think Matt needs to start watching Westworld, and then the three of us can do a Westworld podcast and be like the rest of people who make podcasts about TV shows and just, give our opinion, and hopefully someone listens to it.
That's where the real money is, guys. I think we're
that is where the money is. Holy shit. That's where the money is. My Lord in heaven, that's where the money is. Oof, because you get to make an episode every week about something that's current. Matt knows he does a Star Trek and a Game of Thrones thing.
It's true, yeah. Trek It or Wreck It and Couch of Thrones are both really fun to do, and people watch them.
There you go.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Culture Stash. You can find Eric on Twitter at Tycho Magnetics. You can find Matt on Twitter at Matt Campagna. And you can find CultureShock.com on Twitter at CultureShock. Please head on over to CultureShock.com where you can find out more about today's episode. You'll also find links over to iTunes where you can rate and review the show, and to Patreon where you can kick a couple dollars our way. We have a Avengers Infinity War addendum on there and a Ready Player One addendum on there. This feels like forever since Ready Player One came out, but that was like last month. Jeez. Donors get access to, obviously, the addendums, unreleased episodes, DVDs, and the chance to guest co-host a Culturecast. We are hosted on Spreaker now, so if you download the Spreaker app and listen to us there, that would be helpful, but we are on all podcatcher apps, both iOS and Android, and you can listen to us on YouTube if that's a thing that you do. Big thanks as always to Eric and Wovoka for our intro song, and to my good buddy Justin Scott for our outro song. Big thanks as always to our sponsor, Jilly's Socks and Such. If you're looking to buy some socks, that's where you want to go. That's right. I'm going to plug some socks, folks, because socks are cool.
Yo, hook it up with some socks, Jillies.
Socks are cool, man. Everybody loves cool socks. Come on. Spruce up your wardrobe a little bit. And big thanks to Matt. This podcast went really long, but man, we really covered Star Wars, I think, for another year. I mean,
we got into 1930s Universal horror. Like, we did a gamut, guys. Well done.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, we went deep.
We went deep. So yeah, and make sure to check out the next Culturecast.
Posted with the crew. You know how we do, I'm just two-step, drink in my right hand, phone in my other hand, getting to the money, oh man, two-step, posted with the crew, yeah, you know how we do.
Hey, two-step, you know what I'm saying, 1, 2, 1, 2.